No,
I think you started first on metrics or something before. But
yes, and COVID's what they told me. But yeah, it was the first one for sure. I was well aware I've never gotten a speedway pole.
Were you surprised?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that we, last year was a great opportunity because I think all the Toyotas qualified really well in the speedways. That's kind of nature of the bodies in which we submitted to NASCAR. So we knew we were going to be fast on these types of racetracks. But then when we resubmitted this year, I think we got more of a balance, and we knew it was going to slow us up on these types of tracks. But Toyota and those guys continue to make advancements, and we get a little faster.
How much differently does Talladega race compared to Daytona?
It's not much different. I mean, we build the fastest cars we can, and I talked about it earlier that back in the day we used to, is it built for qualifying or built for the race? That's not been the case for a very long time. Everyone's building the very fastest car they can, and they're qualifying exactly what they're racing. So I think that it's a good sign of things to come.
Coming off of so much talk about penalties and the short track racing and the product, fans would like you to believe that the sky is falling and everything is terrible. What, in your opinion, is the state of the sport right now?
Well, certainly I think that there's a lot of negative talk in a very short amount of time. Obviously, the penalties got the biggest talk of it, and that was just unfortunate circumstances. But kind of NASCAR got caught in the middle of something that that was right, and then it looked wrong by the ruling, right? And so then they tried to make it right with call here at the end. But yeah, it's just very tough. Certainly from the competition standpoint, I believe that we can continue to make it better, and as long as we are open to new ideas, which it sounds like that we are, we can make this better. We need to make it better.
So Talladega is typically a place that generates a lot of conversation. What has to happen tomorrow for on Monday people to say, "Wow, that was a great race"?
Just talk about the race. That's it, right? It's not a.
But everybody was talking about Martinsville on Monday.
Yeah, right. They were, but not in a positive way, right? I think that a lot of it is that we saw a race that was very challenging from a passing perspective. I don't think what we're going to see here tomorrow is going to be a lot like Daytona 500. You will see mostly 2x2 racing. That's just kind of the product of the car, right? But we're going to continue. We've got some bigger fish to fry, I think, on competition than speedways, and it'll get its attention in due time for sure.
What is the advantage of the pole here?
I don't know that there is one, honestly. I mean, if I would have qualified 18th, I would have been just as optimistic, I guess. Although I would say that qualifying on the pole means my car is very capable and will be fast leading. I haven't been fast in next gen era while leading Superspeedways, so I think certainly that gives me the confidence that we should be able to lead the pack quickly, which will make it harder for them to pass us.
Which new ideas seem to be the most feasible for the short tracks that you guys discussed today?
Yeah, I think that there was some, I left that meeting very optimistic with what I heard. The changes in the car, Goodyear, kind of really stepping up and saying, hey, we had to be very conservative first year next gen, and we've been very common with our tires. We feel like we're comfortable enough now to start mixing that up and really start getting more aggressive with our tire compounds. That's all fantastic news for us and hopefully for competition here in the next few months.
Denny, can you share what it was like when you got the phone call about being on the 75 greatest drivers list?
Well, I saw Jim France called, and my first thought was, oh shit, here we go again.
Kyle Larson had the same thought.
We just had Bristol. What did I do?
Larson got Helton.
Yeah, Larson got Helton and said, oh shit, are they going to suspend me after
this?
I was like, it's too close to the race day.
I just, Jim, PTSD for sure on that one. But no, I mean, it was a good phone call, and just him being very appreciative for what I do for the sport and everything. It was just very good to hear, certainly, and obviously, he said this is a very high honor, and I acknowledged it and said, I appreciate this accomplishment. It's big, obviously, and hopefully there's one more big one that we can go.
When they announced they were doing this list, did you even think about whether you would be on it or if you would
I mean, of
qualify
course, you
for it?
think about it for sure, and I thought that I had a place somewhere in there, but you just never know until you know.
Denny, what's the difference in your strategy? You strategize this race, you think it through probably a million times, starting from the pole. It's so different, when you lead the field to green versus being back, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle because this type of racing does not fit my skill set at super speedways, right? It's 2x2, and like I want to be the Dale Earnhardt that can go from 18th to first in 3 laps or whatever it is, right? But with it being such a teammate type race now, or manufacturer type race, I feel like I've always really pushed to just let me do my own thing, like let me be on my own. But it's very hard in this climate, in this type of racing, for that to be successful. You have to have people behind you, are committed to going wherever you're going. So I just feel like at times if you get told, hey, you got to run with this car, that car, like you put handcuffs on my skill set. But it's a different type of racing, and I think I have to convert my type of racing into the working with teammates and that type of strategy, because I think it's what's been most successful.
Are you selfish here then? Because Dale Jr. always said you have to control the race at a super speedway like a prize fighter controls a fight, but do you have to be less selfish then? And how do you do that and be less selfish?
Being selfish was beneficial until next gen, for sure, absolutely. My independence and not wanting to work with teammates, not because I didn't want to, it's just they made moves I didn't necessarily agree with, so I just would go rogue and go on my own. But I just felt like this next gen era in 2x2 racing, you just can't pull out and pass like you used to be able to by yourself. So you have to rely on teammates, which is why we've converted our style, and I've had to change my style.
5 super speedway wins. Would you say you've successfully converted your style?
I haven't won in next gen, so no, not yet.
Okay.
I'm working on it. Again, I wish I could go back in time, but I can't. I just have to.
Back in time to win.
Just when you saw 3 and 4 wide, and I could just, all I needed was air disturbed. Any kind of air disturbed, I could find little pockets of air to make my car go. This, you really have to just continue to push whoever's in front and make sure someone's in line behind you.
How do you change your style then for a driver? How hard is that?
You just have to start over. I mean, I think that really I'm having to do it on road courses now. I'm at 42. I've just got to relearn and figure out the best way to do things. So you just can't stop learning. That's the biggest key.
How hard is that when you say teammates? I'm assuming you mean all Toyota, not necessarily just
Right.
JGR. You could end up being the lead dude and the other guys are right.
Yes.
So how do you kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I think that you just have to be able to commit to each other and figure, for good or for bad, right? You're either going to be all in the same wreck, or you're all going to avoid it, and you're going to be battling, cars, 6 cars for a win. It'll get thinned out through wrecks, right? We all know that, but I think that you, for the most part, have to have the mindset of, how can we work together? Because it is power in numbers, especially in next gen. You have to, whatever line has the most cars, if one line has 9 and one of them has 10 is going to be faster, and you're going to want to be in that line. Where in the old days, you could kind of make that, you could make 7 cars beat 10 if you worked it right.
Well, Joey spent, his podcast, sort of the counter argument to yours in your comments, talking about how, it should be hard, and if you get in the back, it shouldn't be easy to drive to the front anymore, because that shows that, you have to be perfect to win these races and things like that. Do you see that argument? Do you see that side of it? Or, where do you fall, I guess?
Well, if you have to be perfect, that means you have to qualify on the pole, and you have to have the fastest pit crew, and you have to lead every lap. I mean, that's perfect. We saw, what we thought was the best car go back and never be seen ever again. That's not what we're looking for. Certainly, I disagree with that 100%. We want tire fall off. Because the reason is that you're not letting the stars show their skill set. Anytime you put a star in the back, it should be a show watching them go to the front. Now it's just
see ya. You screwed up, and I'll never see you again. That's not what we want. We want people on TV watching who don't know much about NASCAR to look and say, that guy is better than the rest. And that's not, that car's got better track position than that one.
How many stars are there in the field of 40?
I don't know. I think that's very subjective. Certainly when you lost Stewart, Earnhardt, Gordon, Johnson, it certainly was a big jump of star power out of the sport. But I think that it can be built back up. I think there's some young guys that have some great potential, but they're going to have on-track success, and they're going to have the freedom to be themselves and be outgoing.
You may have heard Chase is back.
I did hear Chase is back, and I think Chase gets a lot of negative pub, I think, at times, and about personality and stuff. I don't necessarily agree with it. Listen, he, like Dale Jr., he didn't ask for this, right? I mean, he didn't ask for the popularity that he has. He just wants to go out there and do his job, right, and do it well, which he does. So I think that if he's an introverted guy, that's his personality, and that's okay. Like, we shouldn't try to change him by any means, right? So he's just a professional that doesn't entertain you as much out of the car as he does in.
As a part of the next gen cars is create parity in a sense, or at least early on. And look, that's great because everybody's got a shot to win, but this talk about the stars or superstars, does that kind of hurt?
Yes.
Trying to find, because you don't have a Kyle Larson
Correct.
10-win season.
Yep. Again, I think to create superstars, you have to be able to look on TV and see that one driver is better than another, and that's where that's what we haven't seen, right? Is that it's track position, whose car is the best, right? The drivers used to really make up a huge difference of the different finishing positions. Now that has changed because of data sharing and all that, right? Like, all the advantage I had on short track got just given to the entire field a few years ago with SMT. So everyone has gotten closer. And actually, Mike Ford over there, I was sending him a screenshot we were chatting last night of the last lap at Martinsville. And 30th, 31st, 32nd ran the same lap times as like 4th, 5th, 6th. Like, so if you have that, it's going to be really, really tough. But that is what parity is. So should races be won on pit road or not? I don't think so. I think we should be winning races, not pit crews and track position.
Denny, are you less Denny Downer now that you got the pole here? You're going to lead the field of green?
Listen, I'm not a downer. I'm a realist. I'm a realist, and that doesn't always mean it's negative, right? I see so much room for growth and where we could be better that I feel like at times it can get the word out and get some momentum going through you guys, and then we get some good positive change, which unfortunately that's the way things work sometimes.
Kevin Harvick said he throws stuff out there. Kevin said he throws stuff out there just to see if it can stick against the wall.
That's right.
Do you ever do that?
Absolutely, for sure, no doubt. So that's just part of it. Is sometimes the best politicking is done through a microphone.
You raced really hard with Bubba last week at Martinsville, and he said he doesn't really look at it like I'm racing the boss, not when he's in that moment. Is that what you hope from him, expect from him?
Yeah. I mean, listen, as a car owner, I would say, man, you're about to go lap down in a track position race. You better fight everything you can. Now, as a driver, I'm like, get the hell out of my way. I'm the leader. Like, I'm trying to make up some ground here. So that's one where, like, while I may be like perturbed in the moment, in the bigger picture, I'm like, well, this is what I would expect him to do. So that's how it gets separated. And people wonder, how do you separate it? When I'm driving, I'm a race car driver. I'm not an owner.
If the roles were reversed, would you expect the same thing from Bubba?
Yeah, I would. Honestly, I mean, I saw Chase Elliott and Joey Logano and Ross Chastain all about to get lapped, and I'm like, if I lap these dudes, their day is done. And so that's why it was such an important moment, because then Joey came back and ended up beating us in the end. But yeah, it was. I expect the same thing, no doubt, is for him to fight, to do everything he can to keep his track position and lead races.